Hello humans! Today I wanted to talk about this guy right here. I picked this up on a recent... That's making a lot of rattling noises. I picked this up on a recent trip to Blade HQ. It was slightly, I think it was 106 bucks. This is the QSP Cali. Fall. There we are. Plain cardboard, burn it, recycle it, do whatever you do. I like plain cardboard. Up top here we have some stickers. This is Better Knife, Better Life. I'm assuming this is the one for the Cali with the wolf. And then this is just the QSP knife with the penguin logo. Have a nice day. These are fun. I like the stickers. Then we have... Okay. It's like a plasticized paper. I don't like this. This feels unpleasant. Anyway, these info cards are kind of handy. They have a bunch of dimensions and information on the knife itself. So overall length, blade length, materials, locking mechanism, odds and ends, which is kind of cool. Oh, I didn't realize the Cali came in an aluminum option. That's kind of neat. And that's your guarantees. Okay, cool. Knife itself in its dog poo bag, and then, oh, I don't like this as much. Not really removable foam insert. Okay, it's not too hard to remove. This sucks. You can't recycle it in a lot of places, so it's just kind of waste product, and there's a decent amount of it because it's form-shaped. In terms of wasted material, I would actually prefer something like what Kaiser does with their plastic inserts, or just bag in a box. There's nothing wrong with bag in a box. So this is unfortunate. This part you can burn, recycle. It's just a cardboard box. Do what you do. Alright. Then, inside of our dog poo bag here, we have the Cali. Oh, there's some oil on it. Nice. Okay, it's a little stiff out of the box. Running, does it say if it's running on bearings or not? It doesn't. It feels like it's running on bearings. Bang! So, first thing first, I like clip points. I'm naturally drawn to clip points. This is a very visually interesting clip point with the sort of dual ground tip section for better puncturing, which I actually kind of like. I think that there is a trade-off you have to make in order to get like a robust tip. And that's not always preferable, especially on an EDC-focused knife. I like clip points for EDC. I think there's a lot of things you can do with the clip point for EDC, so having this like thinned out tip section visually is neat, but also I can see the practical uses to having something like that, and I do appreciate that. Without it being like fully different grind, like this is just, it's a secondary grind. It's not your primary edge, which I like. And then you have a swedge section for the actual clip point, which I appreciate. Blade stock feels fairly thin. Nice big thumb studs. Blade to handle ratio. It's not too bad. This big forward finger choil, I think, is kind of screwing with perspective a little bit. I'm not always a huge fan of a finger choil, personally. This one here is well done. You can get an easy full grip, and it makes a good index finger place, so you can still get right behind the edge. But it doesn't subtract. Like this is a good way to hold the knife. This is also a good way to hold the knife. So it's there if you want it. It is not necessary to use. Some finger choils, I feel like, especially Spyderco, a lot of their finger choils, I feel like they want you to use the finger choil as part of the handle, and I don't necessarily appreciate that. I like being a little bit further back sometimes. That's all personal preference stuff, but it is worth noting, in my opinion. And of course it does chip into the amount of overall edge you get, so there is some argument for or against that, depending on personal opinion. This is very locked in. Like, it's got these two very, very strong finger positions, so if you're in both, you're very, very in both, which, that's going to be a little hit or miss. I like it for the times when you need it, but because you're so locked in either position, like these are such good finger grabbers, and this swelling section right here for the thumb is so comfortable, this is not a knife that's going to come out of your hand very easily. It is somewhat boxy feeling in the hand, though. Like, for the thinness of the blade, the handle feels a little bit wide. Not in a bad way. It feels very secure in the hand, but it's a little wide and a little boxy. Like I said, by no means the end of the world. Just a note that I've had kind of my initial set of feelings. Ergonomically, it's pretty nice. This clip is definitely creating a hotspot. That's pretty pokey. But on the plus side, reversible clip with an insert. I forget what these are called. With a fill plate, which is nice. That's already smoothing out pretty significantly. I think it's just, yeah, I think it's just a little bit too new. It needs a little bit of time. Yeah, I think it just needs a little bit of time to smoothen out. I am getting, what is that? There's sort of some bottom end crunch going on with this lock. It's like, I wonder if they have, I'm going to disassemble this in the meantime and get a better view of the spring itself, but it feels like instead of having a symmetrical coil spring like you find in a pen, hold up, I've got a jar of springs. So it feels a little bit, instead of having like a very symmetrical spring like this where it compresses, this is a very powerful spring, where it compresses and all of the different sections hit each other, what it feels like instead, do I have one handy? I do not. It feels a little bit like the spring, it's going together and then it's seating, like it's barrel shaped, where the middle spirals are narrower so they kind of fit inside of the top and bottom spirals, which can lead to some friction. I am going to pull it apart and take a look, but that would be an interesting thing. I'd be willing to bet that's not what's happening. It's just binding somewhere. But it has that very specific, like, spring-on-spring feel to it. If you played with a lot of springs, you know what I mean, and if you haven't played with a lot of springs, you think I'm crazy, but it's a very distinctive feel, and that's immediately what it made me think of. It did come centered out of the box, which is nice. This is a nice little knife. It's got this texturing on both sides of the scales, kind of, I don't want to say it's imitating a saw cut pattern, because it's not really, but it's got like that very liney kind of a feel to it. I mean, it provides great traction. There's no question about that. Like my hand, once I'm in here, there's very little you could do to get my hand to move if I didn't want it to. So that is kind of nice. And just a detail, you know, QSP is good about this. Not all companies are. They put the showier, non-tooled side of the pivot on the show side scale for a right-handed person, which is, I appreciate it. Not everybody's going to care, but I appreciate that. This is fun. Action's nice, feels very crisp, feels very good. Just that bottom end of that spring feels a little bit funny. That's about it. And it's already, I can already feel it smoothing out. It's not quite there, but I can already feel it smoothing out, which is nice. All right, into some tests. That's very well polished. Was there something? No. No micro, or I'm not feeling any micro striations. It feels like a very well honed edge. Some paper cutting. Oh wow. Wonderfully finished edge. That's actually really impressive. Some puncturing. I think this is going to puncture pretty well, in part because of this just material reduction near the tip, but also just because clip points are, generally speaking, pretty good at puncturing tasks. And it's a thin profile. Like, I think this is going to puncture very well. Oh yeah. Like it's not even there. Like nothing. Harder to pull out than it is to stick through. Yeah, for your puncturing task, this is going in very, very easily. I'm actually kind of surprised by that. Let's put the stickers away into the sticker pile for later use. Yeah, puncturing, very, very easy. The reduction near the tip, I think, is doing some of the work, and then just very thin, very good profile for puncturing tasks. Is it? Sorry, I just realized something. I'll take it off screen so I can hold it up to a light. It is. It's ever so slightly hollow ground. Fascinating. I did not notice that initially. Ever so slight, like not much of a hollow grind at all, but ever so slight hollow ground. Is that true out here? I think that's only for sort of the initial section, the stonewash section, not the satin finished section. But even so, I wasn't expecting that. It's very, very almost imperceptible. Let's do a rubber cut. It's a very thin profile. It's a well done edge. I think this is going to go fairly easily. Generally speaking, hollow grinds have a harder time with this test, but I think it's thin enough and a minimal enough hollow grind. This should be fine. Oh yeah. Hot knife through butter. Yeah, no question. That's very, very slicey. Yeah, no, I'm very impressed. That sliced very, very well. It's a fairly handsome looking knife. There's some very subtle things done with the ergonomics that I think are very impressive. In particular, just this ever so slight detent back here for your thumb. It's not jimped or anything like that, but it just fits so naturally. And then even if you're choked up, it provides a very natural hold. Like you're very locked in here. That being said, there are some things like this pocket clip bill. Fucking horrible. It's going to go into and out of the pockets very easily, but it's sharp, for lack of a better word, which is kind of unfortunate. I'm interested in seeing if it grows on me with time, but initially I am not particularly impressed with it. It's sharp up here, and then it's sharp back here. Ultra deep carry, in my opinion, isn't a necessary thing. There are times when I prefer sort of a medium carry, where there's a little bit of the knife sticking out of the pocket, especially for a work knife. Now, this is more EDC than work, so I'm not going to begrudge it for that. But especially on a work knife, I like something that I can grab easily with like my welding gloves on, if I need to make a quick cut or whatever. So having something that's this deep where the entire knife is into my pocket can make that a little bit difficult. And then just generally, I don't like it when the back edge of the knife has the pocket clip protruding. I find it ruins the ergonomics. There are definitely some grips that I find more uncomfortable to do. And like, this is the ergonomic line. This nice, hand comfortable curve. And then there's just a sharp corner there for no reason. Which is kind of unfortunate, but I'm still very, very excited by this. This is, blade profile-wise, except for the finger choil, this is very close to an ideal blade for me personally. A little bit clip-pointed, lots of straight edge, belly out towards the tip in line with the center line. Freaking prime. I love button locks. Button locks are my second favorite type of lock. So that really, really does appeal to me. I'm excited by this. I'm really, really excited by this. It does have a lanyard hole in the back. It's a fairly small lanyard hole. It's not in the way. I'm probably not going to put a lanyard on this knife. I don't think it needs it. But we're going to carry this guy on and off for a couple weeks and see what my feelings are at the end of it. So that's now. I just finished filming section 2 and realized that I forgot to do my size comparison, so I'm going to do those real quick. Here it is next to Civivi Chevalier and the Wee Knives Banter. As you can see, it fits nicely in between the size of the Banter and the Chevalier, which to me makes this a medium-sized knife. Here it is next to Buck 110 and Zippo lighter. As you can see, it is quite a bit smaller than the Buck 110 in terms of thickness. This knife needs a polish. It's a good amount thinner than the Buck 110. Not tons. It's not an ultra thin knife, but it is a good deal thinner than the Buck 110. Which is probably, yeah, it's actually a little bit thicker than the Zippo. Not a lot, but a little bit thicker than the Zippo. So, take from that what you will, and then blade stock thickness. Flat back here. Yeah, so it's like 115 thousandths. So, pretty standard for just kind of an everyday carry knife. Alright, continue. And we are back. So, I've only had this guy for a week. I haven't had it as long as I normally do, and I'll get into the reasons why in a little bit, but first thing first, different variations. This is 14C28N. This version is G10. They also have aluminum versions. All of them have some sort of texturing. The G10 seems to have this saw cut, and the aluminum has this like wave cut pattern, just for some added texturing to it. For our blade length, from the scale, it's about 3 1/4, and then for edge, it's about 3 inches, which isn't too bad. You do get this front finger choil, you get a little bit of jimping. The jimping isn't super aggressive and is slightly crowned over, so I found it to be fairly slippery. But if you're back a little bit, you actually get this really nice thumb spot back here. It is a little boxy in the hand, not uncomfortably so, like the actual edges have all been broken down, but it is a little bit boxy feeling, and I did find the pocket clip a little bit uncomfortable with prolonged use. Definitely not the end of the world by any means, but if you're going to be using this for an extended period of time, you know, there is that to consider. This shaved away section definitely increased, like this thing punctured really well. It was really good for opening feed bags and the like. It does do a good job as a pocket knife. It does really like you to use this forward choil. You can get away from it, but this is just, the knife handles a lot better in this forward choil grip, whereas my preferred grip would be a little bit further back here. Not the end of the world by any means. Thumb studs decidedly out of the way, and in terms of like action, opening action felt really good. Closing action felt a little bit tight. I did fine tune it a little bit, but it never got to the point where, like, there's enough tension in the spring that this, if you let go of the button, it will always stop closing. So you do have to hold the button down. That being said, it is very smooth, even if, like, it's smooth, it's just, there's a little bit of extra tension there. Now, I did have some issues with the button. In particular, you can kind of hear it. There's this, like, weird crunchiness in the bottom. It's the absolute bottom of the travel. And it's past the point where the lock is disengaged, but it is still very easy to hit. So I am going to pull this apart in just a second and break down that and my other big issue with it, which might not be super obvious, but we'll see. Yeah, you can see it just a little bit right there near the tip. Come on, focus. Alright, it's not super obvious, but right up here near the tip is hitting on this backspacer right here, which is leading to the formation of this little chip in the blade right near the tip, which is just kind of annoying. So let's pull this thing apart and see what's going on with that spring. So you do have to break it apart from the back, because obviously the front of, Obviously the front, there's no tooling, so you do have to pull it apart from the back. The pivot screw is a T8. And I know that for sure because I was adjusting it. I don't know what the rest of the screws are yet. Let's find out. Okay. That one, are these going to be T6s? Yeah. Yeah, T6s. Not the end of the world. I like to see T8 hardware all the way around the board, but I can definitely understand and appreciate why T6s are useful. Okay. Alrighty. So yeah, and actually right there you can see it's making contact with this barrel spacer back there. We do have bearings. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to flip the spring around and put it back in. The reason I'm going to flip the spring around is what I think is actually happening is it's a little bit bent near the end. And I think that as a result of it being a little bit bent near the end, it's sliding sideways. So, hopefully, just putting it back in upside down will prevent that. I'm not entirely sure. It is annoying. It's definitely not world-ending. But I do find it rather annoying. And yeah, that stop pin needed to get brought down just a little bit because it is connecting with this back barrel spacer before it hits the stop pin, which is what is causing me grief right now. Yeah, it would be a very easy design fix, which in part actually makes it worse because it was not fixed. Line up everything. Yeah, it'd be a stupidly easy fix, and the fact that it's not fixed is what annoys me about this. And I mean, this isn't an inexpensive knife necessarily, right? Like, even at House of Knives, who generally has fairly good prices, this was over $100, which for me puts it out of budget territory. You know, this is a average price knife. I don't really know. What do you call the category that's, like, slightly above budget? But yeah, like, this is not the least expensive knife you can get, right? And because of that, these little things should be ironed out. Especially something as simple as move the... Because all it would take, legitimately, you would not have to change anything else about the profile, you would not have to change anything else about the frame. If the only thing you did was move that closed position stop a millimeter forward, the blade would sit here instead of here, which is still completely closed, and it would stop hitting in the back. That's going to be really tight. Yeah. So now we ease it off of here. Stays centered. It's a little bit looser. Finicking back and forth, just trying to get what I like out of a blade tension. Still centered. There we are. Yeah, that's really smooth. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's kind of my biggest issue with this, is just the fact that it is chipping away at the tip of the blade. And like, it's created a noticeable roll and a little bit of a chip. So it's not an insignificant amount of damage that it is causing, which is just very annoying to me. That being said, it's not awful, right? And aesthetically, I really do like the design. In the hand, it's fairly comfortable. Like I said, it's a little blocky, But it's just weird how, like, some details, like this little bit of thumb, I don't even know what to call that, but this little thumb section right here, super nice detail. A lot of knives, especially in the more inexpensive space, like I said, I don't consider this budget, but in the more inexpensive space, would forego this, right? They'd have just a continuous arch, whereas this has that little bit of added detail. And I do really appreciate the little bit of added detail. But I feel like they skip the fundamentals to refine the front edge, and that's just not something I can approve of. Honestly, it's not unique enough to be worth it in my opinion, right? These little issues, this is a competitive enough space, price-wise, performance-wise, material-wise, even in terms of like shape and size. There is so much competition going on in this space that these little errors, in my opinion, should be enough. Oh, it did fix it. These little errors should be enough to disqualify this, in my opinion. And that's not to say don't get a QSP. QSP makes absolutely phenomenal knives. The QSP Vault is... Yeah, the QSP Vault right now, I think, is my favorite crossbar locking knife. I also have a Penguin that I really do like. Like, they do make really good knives. It's just, this one here, in my opinion, is a bit of a miss. That being said, as soon as I flipped it over, the spring has stopped doing its thing, whatever the hell it was doing. I think it was just slipping on itself. But the spring has stopped doing that, which is nice. Yeah, not a horrible knife by any means. If you have one, you should be happy with it. Just be aware that it's going to hit. There are other things that I would pick up over this. Yeah. Stay safe and have fun out there. Peace.